What was that? Weird. All right, anyway. Welcome back, Honors. Sorry, I had to check on that. It was like a little weird screen glitch. I don't know if you saw it. But anyway, so we talked about some stuff today. Some of you are like, what the heck is going on right now in Mr. Terry's class? I'm so confused. We're jumping all over the place. Look, it's the nature of this unit, all right? The Renaissance, the Reformation, the exploration, all happening at the same time. I hate that it is the way that it is, but it's important for you to be able to kind of study them back and forth, back and forth. Some of you are also like, what are we going to do with all this Black Death information? I don't know yet, okay? Like, I kind of overlap projects on accident, but we'll talk about that. Actually, I'm sure we talk about it today in class. I'm actually recording this right now in the 7th period, right before y'all come in. So, but something I need you to write down really, really quickly, okay? So this is going to go after your artists, okay? After your artists, we only have 3 more to go. We have, I'm not sure if we're going to start any today, but we'll see. We have another Dürer, we have an Ike piece, and then we have a Bosch piece that we got to get over, okay? So, but anyway, let's talk about really quick how the Renaissance is going to relate to this thing called the Reformation, right? So, first thing to do, you're going to need to give a title, right? The Reformation, all right? And the Reformation is spelt like this. Oops, sorry. Spelt like this. So, it's the Reformation. Now, really quickly, so start that title for this section, the Reformation. I love talking about the Reformation. It's full of fun little weird facts and like meetings where we burn people at the stake and stuff like that. So, how do you think the Renaissance is going to begin this idea of reforming the Catholic Church? Well, a lot of it has to do with this right here. So write this first thing down when it comes to the Reformation. The Renaissance led to people questioning the church, right? A new idea of humanism and secularism as it begins to come down, and the ideas of why do we exist this way? Why do we do this? Why do we do that? How does God know what we're going to do before we do it? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This new spirit of questioning is going to also lead them to begin to question the corruption in the Catholic Church at the time, right? So people are going to begin to use humanist ideas to question the central force in their lives. They're going to begin to question it. Now, a lot of you are saying, question how? I don't know. Really, really quick, let's talk about something that happened, all right? You can jot this down in your notes. It's really, really up to you. But in the 1290s, in the Middle Ages, a lot of this negativity, this is an example of the corruption occurring. Actually, I'll save that. You know what? I'll save it in a second. So let's go ahead and start it like this. The Protestant Reformation was a movement that split the church in Western Europe and led to the establishment of a number of new churches. Now, really, really quickly, there's a word that you need to put below this. It's very, very key. You need to put a star next to it. You need to underline it. A little bit of an explosion on the outside of it. The word is denomination. D-E-N-O-M-I-N-A-T-I-O-N. Okay? So the Protestant Reformation is going to lead to these denominations, these new denominations of the Christian faith. What a denomination is, it's any recognized branch of the Christian faith. Okay? So you could say technically now, Catholic is a denomination of Christianity. So is Baptist, Episcopal, Methodist, Presbyterian. Non-denominational is denominational, ironically enough. So anyway, but you understand what I'm saying. A denomination is a recognized branch. Before the Reformation, what was the only branch? Catholic, right? Catholic was the only recognized branch. There was no other branch. Some of you are like, what about Eastern Orthodox with the Great Schism? Okay, I hear you. All right, so anyway, I get it. That's true. Yes, but for the purpose of teaching it, in Western Europe, you were a Catholic if you were a Christian in Western Europe, right? So anyway, let's keep going. The church is going to fall subject to a ridiculous amount of corruption, all right? So financial being at the heart of it, okay? Abuse of power being a huge thing. Immorality. Popes are going to get caught up in worldly affairs like competing with princes and kings for power as well. Also, the church just had a lot of corruptible acts that was going on. So, for example, you can jot this down, jot it down. It's not necessary for you to go full tilt with it, but this is an example of the corruption, all right? So you can write example of the corruption. An example of the corruption, you can look this up a little bit if you want to actually kind of deepen your knowledge of the subject, because this is an AP European concept that I talk about. The Great Western Schism, all right? Some of you are like, we already talked about a schism. Why is there another schism? Even though I love the word schism. Anyway, but the thing about it is, the Great Western Schism was actually an event in which there was a feud and a dispute over who the next pope would be, okay? So after one of the popes died, after having a massive feud with the king of France, he's going to end up dead after actually being captured and kidnapped by this king and all this other stuff. Because mainly the French kings always wanted to be able to appoint bishops of their own and stuff like that. But then the Pope was like, you can't do that. I have to pick them because it's going to be biased. This Pope's going to die. He's going to die very tragically. The people in Italy are going to begin to demand that they want an Italian Pope. We want an Italian Pope. We want an Italian Pope. Everybody wants a Pope from their home country. So the Council of Cardinals elects this guy. His name is Urban the First, I believe. No, anyway, so they elect Urban the First. Urban the First starts to freak out, right? He starts freaking out, and he's like, you know what? This church is corrupt. That guy's a jerk. That cardinal's a jerk. That guy's got illegitimate children. This guy holds weird parties at his house all the time. Sinner, sinner, sinner. And he starts calling everybody out. And so the Council of Cardinals, in fear for their jobs, are like, oh, no. And they're like, that didn't count. That didn't count. That didn't count. We didn't actually elect this guy. The Italian mob, they convinced us to do it. All the Italians were freaking out. Sorry, sorry, sorry. So they actually elect this other guy, a French guy, named Clement VII, right? And they're like, oh, no, Clement's the real pope. It was a joke, right? Urban refuses to resign his throne as pope, or he refuses to abdicate as pope. So literally at one point in the Great Western Schism, there were multiple popes. One of them lived in France. One of them lived in Italy. At one point, there was as many as 4 popes, right? Countries are going to begin to pick popes and which pope they like and stuff like that. But that's an example of the corruption. This giant idea that, like, we have to have papal supremacy over everybody and everybody's got to listen to us and we're kings just like every... No, you're not. You are a religious leader. Stop being so corrupt, right? So you can jot that down however you would like. It's up to you. All right, anyway, but the popes also are going to lead ridiculously wealthy lives, just like Urban I wasn't wrong. All right, so they support the arts. They hire artists to beautify their churches. They spend ridiculous amounts of money on this stuff. And according to the Benedictine rule in the Middle Ages, are you supposed to be spending money like that? I don't think so. No, you're not. All right, so you like the faith is beautiful enough as it is alone. You don't need to be, calm down. All right, so to finance new projects, though, the church is going to begin to do this thing where they charge super high fees for things like marriages, baptisms, funerals. Then somebody comes up with the idea. Leo X, a Medici pope, who figured, right? Anyway, so that's another sign of corruption. You had all these wealthy families, their members of their family becoming popes. It's ridiculous. All right, anyway, but they're going to start coming up with this idea of selling indulgences, right? So an indulgence is the concept that you can pay. It's kind of like Monopoly. It's like a get-out-of-purgatory free card, right? So to finance these new projects, they're going to begin to sell indulgences. What an indulgence is, it's a lessening of time that your soul is supposed to spend in purgatory. Now, really quickly, you should know what purgatory is from religion class, right? Purgatory is the idea of an area of atonement, right? So according to Dante, it's a giant mountain, and then you go up there and you're punished in a certain way to atone for your sins before you're allowed to ascend into paradise, right? We talked about the Inferno, the Divine Comedy, right? So to spend in purgatory, you would be there for a certain X number of time. And it's going to be, your time is going to be slowly like lessened if you buy these indulgences, right? So indulgences in the Bible, in the Old Testament, are considered good deeds. It's kind of very karmatic in the way when you think about it. I was telling a student about it today that the Catholic principles kind of share a lot of Eastern faith things, like the ideas of meditation. Is the rosary not a meditation, right? The ideas of, there's a weird crossover with the Old Testament about like the symbol of rams, like the Egyptians used ram to symbolize Ra and gifts of God, and then of course Abraham was given a ram by God in the Old Testament. A lot of little weird crossovers, right? So anyway, but indulgences were supposed to be good deeds, kind of like setting your karma right in a way. So not things that can be bought or sold. So if you did something good that would lessen your time in purgatory, you can't buy your way out though, because here's the thing. How is that unfair? Oh yeah, I forgot. The poor people can't afford them. Thank you, Susie. I agree with you 100%. I heard you shout it out over there. The poor people can't afford them. It's ridiculous, right? So what we call purgatory in like layman's terms is like heaven's waiting room, right? It's where your soul atones for its sins. And it's not severe enough for hell, but it's where it atones for its sins. So the church begins to start trying to make money off this concept, right? Now, really fast, parents who are probably listening right now, Mr. Fisher, I promise I'm not against the Catholic Church, just like the corrupt 1400s one, all right? So, like, the Catholic Church has done amazing things. I have 6 rice bowls on my desk right now. I'm trying to fill all of them, right? The outreach is great, and the ideas of, like, trying to spread the faith is amazing, but In the 1400s, the Catholic Church was very corrupt. All right, so anyway, but let's continue forward. So you should not be trying to make money off the concept of purgatory. And then the worst part is there's going to be all these early reformers, attempts anyway, to try and fix this whole process. And they're going to fall flat on their face, right? So one of the big ones, don't write him down, we're coming to him last, is John Wycliffe. John Wycliffe was an early reformer. He believed that the church should give up its possessions, right? Give back all these extra things. And by the way, he wasn't burned at the stake. Actually, if you could cross that out, I'd really appreciate it. So anyway, that he should give up its earthly possessions and return to the ideals of poverty. He was an Englishman, actually. He was a theology professor, and I believe it's Cambridge. I'd have to look that back up again. But yeah, John Wycliffe said, give up all your earthly possessions, return to a more modest form of the faith, right? Early reformer. Squelched out, not listened to, almost excommunicated, very big problem, right? So then you got Jan Hus, right? Jan Hus was a priest, a Czech priest, he's Bohemian, who spoke out against immorality, and he was excommunicated and burned at the stake. All right, so anyway, he was burned at the stake. He actually spoke out against the immorality, saying, no, we shouldn't have a pope at all. He actually said, we don't need a pope. We need a group of cardinals and laymen and regular people. We should call it the Great Council. And then it brought on this thing called the Conciliar Movement. It's a lot of AP stuff. But like, bring on this idea of like, and so the Pope actually invited him to a diet. And a diet is a meeting, just to give you a heads up. Write that down somewhere really quick. Diet equals meeting, all right? So a diet is a meeting, not like you're trying to like, I know, like Sean Martin, I know you're trying to look like good for beach season, but it's not what we're getting at, all right? So, but like a diet is a meeting. So he calls him to a diet. And actually, Jan Hus, real cool fun fact, was they're actually the very first reformer to successfully start another denomination. They were called the Hussites, but they actually got snuffed out because they were in hiding all the time, and like the ideas kind of die when you don't spread it. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so we believe actually there's a lot of Hussite I need to keep going. So they invite Jan Hus to a diet, right? They invite him to this diet, and they're like, we will give you free passage and safe passage if you come to us, and actually we'll talk about like how this is not true and the Catholic Church isn't that corrupt, and you can tell us about your newfangled religion you got going on. They get him there, they then put him on trial, and then they burn him at the stake, right? So they lied to him. They actually guaranteed him safe passage and then burned a reformer at the stake. This is a problem. It's immoral. You can't do that, right? So anyway, let's keep going. I know you're really upset about all this stuff, like Adam and Chris. I agree, it's messed up, right? It's messed up. You're allowed to get fired up about this, right? But we're going to stop here for the day, okay? Because we got to talk about Martin Luther and his big impacts later on. We got to separate these guys, right? We got to talk about the corruption first, and we got to talk about the guy that hatched those little baby eggs that actually like led into these big ideas, right? So, Johann Tetzel, bad guy. All right, anyway, so he was a priest that was sent by Pope Urban VI, right? That's not true. Erase Urban VI. That's Leo X. That's wrong. Why is that in there? All right, anyway, so it's Leo X, who's a Medici Pope, like I said, very corrupt. Anyway, so to sell indulgences in Germany. And the idea was that you were going to send that money back to fix St. Peter's up and make it look even better than it already was. Not like you have, the Pieta sitting behind, well, they didn't have glass at the time like that, but not like you had the Pieta and a bunch of other stuff already in there. So the money was sent to fix up St. Peter's, but the thing was, these indulgences were like premium Ferrari, Bugatti grade indulgences that not only got you out of purgatory, but it got family members that were already there out of purgatory, right? He even had a pitch. He had an advertising slogan. He said, when a penny in the coffer rings, a soul from purgatory springs. So all of these wealthy people started forking over all this money, and when poor people tried to do the same thing, they were denied because they didn't have enough funds. So, as you can tell, things are very corrupt, right? So we're going to stop here for the day, and then we're going to continue this stuff tomorrow in a flip as well as we finish up our artists today and tomorrow, okay? So y'all have been doing a phenomenal job. I'm ridiculously impressed. Y'all are doing super good. So that's going to be about it. I'll see you guys tomorrow, honors, and good job today. I'm even predicting a good class period coming up, right? I'll see y'all in a little bit, all right?